Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And I got another interesting commentary for you that's coming straight out of Oklahoma. And this is again with another Oklahoma judge. And for those who have been following me, I just recently did a video on another female young judge who was presiding over a murder trial for a 2-year-old boy that had been killed, and the presiding judge was texting the bailiff over 500 times during the murder trial, talking bad about the prosecutor, saying the witnesses were liars, talking about their clothes, and she got discovered and found out through the video in the courtroom, and they had rescinded her position and removed her from her position as a judge in that criminal case. And she was getting ready to be criminally charged and until she went ahead and resigned. And now I have one that's even more salacious than the female judge that was texting the bailiff over 500 times during the murder trial. This one is about an Oklahoma judge who had been a judge for a long time. And this is how this one goes. A special prosecutor has decided not to charge former Oklahoma County District Judge Tim Henderson after a thorough investigation into allegations he sexually assaulted multiple women. Special Prosecutor Jason Hicks said his review of the investigation revealed that those instances do not have the evidence necessary to prove that a crime occurred. Hicks did sharply criticize the former judge, who was once widely respected in legal circles. So this judge was having inappropriate relationships with prosecutors and even a sheriff's deputy, and he was married. In this investigation, it is crystal clear that Judge Henderson preyed on young women whom he believed would respond in his favor. His actions generally started with emails, text messages, and an acknowledgement that he was willing and could help them with their careers, Hicks said in a statement about his decision. It is obvious that he violated the trust of the public and our profession, and as such should never be allowed to practice law again. So former judge denied that he sexually assaulted anyone. So Judge Tim Henderson, 63 years old, not a young guy, 63, abruptly resigned and came under investigation after being accused of sexual misconduct as far back as 2021. He had been a judge almost 9 years. At least 5 women came forward during the investigation. 2 of them were prosecutors assigned to his courtroom, and a third was a sheriff's deputy. Judge Henderson, who was married, denied sexually assaulting anyone. He acknowledged he had been in a sexual relationship with 2 prosecutors, but insisted they were both consensual. And these were also extramarital affairs. He was married. Hicks informed Oklahoma City District Attorney David Prater, the governor's office, and Henderson's attorney of his decision last week. He provided a statement to the Oklahoman Friday. Both the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and the state's multi-county grand jury looked into the allegations. Hicks said the numerous emails, testimony, and other evidence suggested there was a cordial relationship between Judge Henderson and all of the women presented through the investigation. Hicks said that certainly leaves doubt in one's mind as to whether any touching between Judge Henderson and the other women was not consensual or invited. As such, no criminal case can be pursued. Hicks is the district attorney of 4 counties: Caddo, Grady, Jefferson, and Stevens. He was named special prosecutor on May 21st, 2021, after Prater disqualified his office. So prosecutors were trying to go after Judge Henderson for his inappropriate relationship with these prosecutors. They were presenting cases in front of his courtroom. Prosecutors were disappointed and disgusted with former Judge Henderson's actions. In my 12 years as an elected district attorney, I have not been as disappointed and disgusted with the conduct of an elected official as I am in this matter, Attorney Hicks said of the former judge. Both Prater and Governor Kevin Stitt asked the OSBI to look into the accusations against Judge Henderson. More than a dozen criminal convictions could be reversed because of this sex scandal. The Oklahoma Court of Appeals already has granted a new trial in a drug trafficking case. The appeals court ruled 3-1 in July that Aaron Lamar Fort is entitled to a new trial because he was denied his due process to an impartial judge. A decision in a murder case is expected soon. Contact between a judge and an attorney should remain professional at all times, Hicks said. Our society is based upon the notion that all people have equal access to justice and will receive a fair trial. When relationships between judges and lawyers become too personal, that notion of fairness suffers greatly. Due process demands that all parties conduct themselves with the thought that someone charged with a crime receives a fair trial and that the process is not weighted to one side or the other. While I recognize that relationships develop, those relationships should always remain professional and avoid any appearance of impropriety. The special prosecutor was going to charge Judge Henderson with sexual battery over the sheriff's deputy's accusations. He had a relationship with the sheriff's deputy, too. Multiple sources told the Oklahoman. He even had the paperwork ready, but he changed his mind in part because of the relationship issue. The deputy had invited Judge Henderson, to her wedding after the alleged contact, sources said. In his statement, Hicks also explained that the complaining witness in this instance does not want to move forward with any charges. In reaching his decision, the special prosecutor also faced restrictions in the law on how long a charge can be filed after a crime. These restrictions, known as statutes of limitations, applied to accusations made by two of the women. Hicks said there was no evidence presented during the investigation suggesting that Prater or Ray Elliott, Oklahoma County's former presiding judge, were aware of Judge Henderson's conduct with these prosecutors and or sheriff's deputy. Defense attorney Irvin Box had called Henderson's conduct with the women the worst kept secret in the Oklahoma County courthouse. So people knew that Judge Henderson was having these affairs with these prosecutors and this sheriff's deputy, all right there in the courtroom. He didn't need to go to a bar or a convention. He was having all of this stuff going on, these inappropriate relationships, while he's married and 63 years old, right there in the courthouse. District Attorney Prater and Judge Elliott were responsible for ensuring an investigation occurred, Hicks said. Elliott retired from the bench this year after completing his latest stint as presiding judge. The special prosecutor also praised an OSBI special agent in his statement about his decision. He said that Agent Jeremy Yurton went above and beyond his investigation into the allegations against Judge Henderson sexually assaulting multiple women. This is a state. This is a court. This is in Oklahoma, and this is a presiding judge is doing all of this felonious behavior, while hundreds and thousands of cases have been presented in front of him. The state Supreme Court and Oklahoma Bar Association could still weigh in on Judge Henderson. The Oklahoma Supreme Court will make any decision on whether Henderson can still practice law if discipline is recommended. The Oklahoma Bar Association, which is made up of state's attorneys, could seek disciplinary action after a review of the allegations. The Supreme Court could also be asked to discipline the two female prosecutors, for continuing to try cases before the judge while they were in relationships with him. Henderson was in good spirits after learning of the decision, his attorney, Tracy Schumacher, said. This was a very expensive investigation for taxpayers that should have been conducted by the Oklahoma Bar Association, she also said. And all three should answer to the Bar Association. So even his defense attorney said that Judge Henderson and the two prosecuting attorneys should go before the bar for misconduct. One prosecutor told the OSBI that Judge Henderson, made her perform oral sex on him 3 or 4 times. She said he was a mentor to her when she was first assigned to his courtroom in October of 2019. She said he unexpectedly began acting inappropriately toward her in 2020. She was shocked and didn't know what to do, the OSBI reported in a request for a search warrant. She didn't feel like she could tell anyone because of who he was. Now she's a grown woman, she's a lawyer, knows the law, representing the law, very astute on the law, and she felt helpless and hopeless. If an attorney feels like she is being sexually harassed and she doesn't know what to do legally, what does that say for the common person that lives in this world today? She said the sexual abuse continued until March 2021 and that she no longer works for the Oklahoma County Courthouse. Henderson claimed the two engaged in a 1-year consensual affair and that she started it. That's what Judge Henderson said. The flirtation continued with texting, emailing, her coming to his office, them engaging in sexual relations in his office after hours, and her sending him photographs of herself explicitly, he claimed in a written statement. The other prosecutor alleged Henderson began sexually abusing her in April of 2016. It's almost 10 years. She alleged Henderson continued to sexually abuse her until July or August of 2018. She said she kept quiet because of the power that he had in the legal community. These are 2 female lawyers that felt hopeless. I don't know. She told the OSBI she did not want to engage in anything Henderson did, but the longer the touching went on, the more trapped she felt. It was like it was too late to get out of it. Henderson claimed that they had a consensual sexual affair that began in April 2016 and ended in August 2018. He claimed the prosecutor gave him gifts and cards during the affair. He claimed they engaged in sexual conduct in his office, in her apartment, and in hotel rooms that she paid for. I don't know. Henderson made his claims and statements for evidentiary hearings held because of the appeals in the drug trafficking case and murder case. Henderson had been both a prosecutor and criminal defense attorney before becoming a district judge in 2012. He'd been a district judge almost 12 years. He was also an Edmond police officer from 1980 to 1986. So this judge, Henderson, has been in law enforcement since 1986. That's almost 40 years. And he was bending and crossing the line of criminality in all of these positions of high esteem and order, representing public safety and the law. He presided during his judicial career over some of the state's most highly publicized criminal cases. In 2015, he oversaw the jury trial for a fired Oklahoma City police officer who was found guilty of sexually assaulting women while on duty and off duty. The former officer, Daniel Holtzclaw, is serving 263 years in prison for crimes involving 8 victims. Wow. And so now the judge alleged affair leads to overturning of a murder conviction as a result of this impropriety that he had with these prosecutors. So a convicted killer is getting a new trial. Robert Hashigin's sentence was reversed today after a judge decided he had an unfair trial due to a relationship between the judge and prosecutor. He's now presumed innocent once again and gets to start this journey all over, says Clay Curtis, Hashigan's attorney. In a 3-2 vote Thursday, the Criminal Court of Appeals voted to reverse convicted murderer Robert Hashigan's sentence. He was sentenced in 2021 to life in prison for burglary and first-degree murder. Hashigan was a law officer that was convicted of a 2013 burglary and beating death of his 94-year-old neighbor, Evelyn Goodall. That conviction was questioned by Hashigan's attorney, Clay Curtis, when an extramarital affair between the judge and prosecutor on the case came to light. Judge Henderson was allegedly involved in a sexual relationship with members of the Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office, Curtis said. Judge Henderson resigned in 2021 after 3 female attorneys accused him of sexual misconduct and a sheriff's deputy. The only proposition the court ruled on today was the relationship between the prosecutor and the judge. While several of Judge Henderson's other cases have been questioned, Hashigan's sentence is the first to be reversed. Obviously, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that appeared before Judge Henderson that did not know he had relationships with the DA's office, said Curtis. A lot of things about the nature of that relationship that we believe inherently affected the fairness of those trials. With a new administration under District Attorney Vicky Behena and a new presiding judge, Curtis is hoping to get a fair trial for his client this time around. It was obvious there was a violation of due process and the relationship tainted the results of the trial. There was an unnecessary risk of bias, Attorney Curtis said. The OSBI found no evidence of sexual misconduct between Judge Henderson and the 3 women that accused him, and Henderson was never charged. And a new date has been set for Hashigan's new murder trial. Unreal. And so now you have a scenario where he has to go before the bar. A new complaint has been filed against Oklahoma County judge accused of sexual misconduct. The complaint was filed by the Oklahoma Bar Association against Judge Tim Henderson. In the court documents, the Oklahoma Bar Association says Judge Henderson's actions constituted professional misconduct, violating several rules that judges are expected to follow. So, he began his Oklahoma County judgeship in 2012 and resigned in 2021. As I said, after 3 female attorneys accused him of sexual misconduct. This led to hundreds of cases being brought into question, 2 of which have been overturned so far. So we have these judges and these lawyers. There are multiple cases that are taking place where they are just human beings, and even though they are trying to represent the law in a positive way and make decisions on individuals' freedoms and freedoms or their convictions and going to prison for the rest of their lives, this judge was committing very heinous and perpetuitous misconduct while people's lives are on the line by having these relationships with these prosecutors, all up to 3 or 4 of them, and a sheriff's deputy. And no different than a surgeon and a doctor who is doing surgery on a patient on a operating room table. That patient's life is in that doctor and that surgeon's hands. The same thing applies to civilians and their freedoms and their rights in our American judicial system. Vetting these judges and making sure that they do the right thing. We're all a human, and this shows the callousness that this judge was participating in while being married and making decisions in perpetuity on individuals' lives, murder cases, burglary, armed robberies, where individuals could get 20, 30, and 40 years, if not life in prison, based on his judgments. And evidently, in many of these instances where they're saying hundreds, if not thousands of cases could be overturned, he was thinking with the wrong head. Should have been thinking with this one. And of course, without me saying it, he was thinking with a different head. And as a result, we don't know if many of these convictions and people that were sent to prison was fair, and all the evidence was presented in an unbiased way. This judge needs to be removed. Thank God he got removed. He needs to be disbarred. I think those prosecutors, those female prosecutors, they're grown adults. They knew what they were doing, and if they feel like they're being harassed and they don't know how to navigate themselves according to the law to get someone off of them from sexually harassing them, then no woman in America has a chance. You're a lawyer. You should know the law, and you cannot be that afraid. This judge is not all being. He's not God. He doesn't have all the power in the world. In today's time, the Me Too movement and everything else, all you have to do is let somebody know. Why would you risk your moral and ethical value out of fear of one human being? So I don't know if those prosecutors, I believe 100% of what they were saying. Many of these young prosecutors are trying to build a storyline and a reputation for winning cases by any means necessary. There's always been that reputation and rumor, and it seems as though these female prosecutors probably was doing that, where they were consciously aware of what their relationship was with the judge, but decided to have this relationship anyway. And then once it got exposed, they decided to be victims. Judge Henderson and the rest of these court officials need to be held accountable. Oklahoma needs to get it together. The state of Oklahoma, they got some judges that are doing some bad things. And this is a big, huge case, and there's going to be a bunch of cases that are going to get overturned and are going to be reissued and presented again. Your freedom is the most important thing in life, and your time. Your time is your most important commodity in life, and how you are able to navigate your freedom is what's most important. Judges have a lot of power. Attorneys have a lot of power. And no different than surgeons when you're on the operating table. You don't want them to make a mistake. There's a fine line between life and death, and there's a fine line between being free and being incarcerated or caged. Tell me what you think of this case on Judge Henderson, right out of Oklahoma, and his felonious behavior. Judge Tim Henderson. It's unfortunate, and hopefully they can get that all worked out. This has been a Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.